Alright, welcome to the video guys. So we're going to be looking at the T21 and also the T37 today. And if you didn't catch it, I did do a video on basically 3-marking the Cavalier, but also requesting for you guys to make tank requests, to give me tank requests. We got 2 of them. I appreciate the 2 of you that gave me the tank requests, and we got 2 light tanks, so these are great tank requests. I didn't want someone to give me like a heavy or something, but I would have played it anyway, right? So the T21 and the T37. To start, we're going to be looking at the T21, guys, and trust me, stick around. You're going to want to see the T37 game. It was a 13,000 W&8 game. Very, very, very good game. So stick around for that. But anyway, in the meantime, we're on Siegfried line in the T21. And to talk about the T21, it's a very good tank, a lot more torquey than the T37. It gets going a lot faster, but the top speed is not as good. However, the gun is much more accurate, and the tank can play, like I'm playing it here. It can passive scout. It's a little lower than the T37, which people might think that this is not a big deal, but I'm telling you, the higher your tank is, the more likely you are to be spotted because you'll stick out of bushes. The T52 is a pretty good player. He blind fires me, I think, twice here, and then I move to this bush and he blind fires me again. But anyway, the T37 is kind of a high tank, guys. It's just the way it's made, right? Like the turret is kind of tall and stuff. So I feel like it's not quite as good at passive scouting. If you're trying to get into like small little bushes and stuff like that, you have to be kind of careful with it. But both the T21 and the T37 are made really more for active scouting, in my opinion. The American tanks are just kind of made this way. They're more of sort of like bully type of light tanks. And yeah, this T52 is just driving me nuts, but eventually he takes one more shot in my direction and he gets spotted and he gets wrecked. And there you go. So now, and I don't even think I spotted him, someone else did, and he's sitting there like, he was tracked. At first when I watched this, I didn't realize he was tracked, and I thought maybe he thought he wasn't spotted, but in any case he was. So this is why you don't risk shooting in bushes, and this is why in the even 90 I never have any damage in my games, because I'm always in these places where I'm spotting the enemy team, but if I fire I will likely be spotted, so I don't shoot. One guy one time was like joking about how I only had 2,000 W&8 in the even 90, and I'm like, dude, I just spot. Like, I don't try and like pad or do damage in this tank. Anyway, going back on the T21 and the T37, guys, this tank, the gun is much, much, much better than the T37, in my opinion. Both of these tanks, the shell velocity is not very good. That's what I've realized. I've never really played either of these tanks before, so really you're getting, from me, like, who I always play light tanks, I think you're getting a really good kind of description on how these tanks perform and how they play, both on and off paper, right? Because everyone knows that when you're looking at the stats, a lot of times that doesn't always carry over to how the tank feels in the actual game. What I could tell you is this tank is much more accurate than the T37, and even on the move, I would say it's more accurate. Though on the move, both of these tanks are not great. So that's one thing. But how to play this tank, guys, I would say, like, run low noise exhaust on it. I run low noise exhaust on both of these because, like I said, they're more made for active scouting, so the concealment value is not very high. That's something you have to keep in mind. I run low noise exhaust on both of them for this reason. However, I did start switching to low noise exhaust on a lot of my other tanks. I also run low noise exhaust now on the even. I run low noise exhaust on the T54 lightweight. I think I run it on maybe on the LTG as well. I run it on almost everything. No, I don't think I run it on the LTG. I run it on almost everything now except the LT432, because the LT432 needs modified configuration because it's always getting lit on fire. So that's why I don't run it on the LT432. But yeah, I would suggest, if you guys are going to play this tank, to set it up the way I set it up, but everyone's playstyle is different. I feel like American lights are just made more for doing damage rather than spotting, like active spotting and doing damage, because honestly the DPM is not terrible on either of these tanks, in my opinion. I might just be playing the even 90 too much and I'm used to like 0 firepower, but The gun, I would have to say though, is very accurate on this tank, and you're going to see that here finally. Now that we're taking shots at the Achilles, you can see the accuracy of this vehicle. Now the gun elevation and depression is also not really a big issue. It's, I would say, average, maybe even slightly above average. I have to check that, but I don't remember having any big issues with the, gun elevation or depression. Perhaps if you turn it all the way around and try and take shots from behind, you might run into an issue here because of the way that, the turret is way in the front. I don't know, but I didn't have a noticeable problem with the gun depression or elevation, so that's also a plus. But I can't emphasize this enough, guys. The T21 it has a very accurate gun, and honestly the DPM is not terrible. You're doing 115 damage every, like, whatever few seconds it is, 4 or 5 seconds, and the shell velocity actually on the APCRs is not bad, and you get 177 pen, which also isn't bad. But here's where I'm going to show you guys, look at the accuracy of this vehicle. I mean, we are at, 350 meters, and these are going directly into that tank. So the accuracy on this tank is incredible for a light tank, and I would have to say, if you're asking me to compare the T21 and the T37, I would say I prefer right now the T21. I've only played one game in the T37, and I've played like maybe 6 or 7 or something like that in the T21. But I run this thing with the turbo, low noise exhaust, and optics, and that is, I think, the best equipment setup for this thing. Like I told you at the beginning of this video, this tank does not have very good top speed. It has good mobility with, torque and getting going, but it only has a top speed of like 56, I think. You can see I'm at 60 now because I have the turbo, and I think the turbo really puts this thing, into the good category for a light tank, because if you're only going around at 56, I can't say, at 56 kilometers an hour, I can't say that that's a very good top speed, right? If I can do 60, we're in good shape. That's where I feel like light tanks, that's like the minimum top speed for a light tank is, I would say, is 60 kilometers an hour. Even then, though, you're better off going a little faster than that. So you can kind of see where this thing is decent. I mean, it's pretty good at brawling here. I mean, you can really do this in any light tank, but I just think, like, overall, the gun being accurate, the pen being decent with APs, its maneuverability, it's torquey to, move back and forth pretty quick. And yeah, I mean, overall, I just think it's a pretty good tank in that sense, for like these little brawling activities. And you can try and play somewhat I mean, this thing has no turret armor, but note that with the American turrets, the gun is up, I think kind of high, and they have like noticeable, I would say kind of big turrets. So in a way, you can, it's a little easier to play this thing kind of in a hold down scenario, especially with the T37, because like I said, the turret's a little higher. So hopefully I've given you a lot of information on this tank. I know it just seems like a bunch of random information, but I don't like put together the information that I bring you guys. I just kind of ramble on about whatever I'm talking about. So hopefully it's informative for you if you haven't picked up this tank. I think it's a pretty damn good tank. We are able to kind of run around the Scorpion there at the end, and we finish on Siegfried line with 1487 damage and almost 700 assists. This is a 6500 W&A game, 2 kills, and yeah, I think we did a very good job playing this game. I have no complaints on it. And overall, this is a pretty dang good tank. It has good view range also. I didn't mention this before, but the view range on both of these tanks is pretty good, I would say. It's better than like the AMX 12T. I note that because I play the 12T a lot, and I don't think the 12T has, as good as view range. It's got to be like at least 10 meters lower. So that's it for this game. Let's get in the end plates, guys, and then we'll take a look at this, incredible T37 game that I played. So this was a first-class game in the T21. Again, we did a little over, 2100 combined or something like that, 2120, 200 combined. And yeah, we did, good module damage, good damage. We got 2 kills, and again, I think this thing is a very good all-around tank. I run it again with optics, turbo, and low noise exhaust. We do run rations, and you're getting almost 27% concealment. This is my crew. I have since used one of the like 100,000 crew experience books, so now we're like at 50% on concealment. So I think the concealment is over 30% now, but I still run the low noise exhaust on it. I think that's the right way to kind of do the things, so that's the way I do it. And yeah, I think that's about all I want to say on this tank, guys. Again, you're looking over here at the aiming time and the dispersion, you know, very snappy tank. The DPM is actually not incredible, but I think this is sort of average for a light tank. And the gun depression, look at the gun depression, -10. So I was right in saying that the gun depression is pretty good on this tank. This thing just has a lot of good things going for it. The top speed is the only thing that really kind of lacks in my opinion, but it's easily, changed with the running the turbo. So here we go, guys. Let's take a look at the team score. We were second by experience, it looks like, fourth or by damage or something like that. And we lost a little bit of coin, and we fired 20 shots, 15 hits, 14 pens, and that's the kind of performance you can expect looking into this little category here with this gun, guys. Good aiming time, good dispersion. I can't emphasize that enough because I'm a player that is obsessed with dispersion, having good dispersion and just good gun accuracy, and you'll hear me say this like 1,000 times in any video on a tank that has good accuracy. The STRV-74 is one video that I did recently, and I think I said like 10 times how freaking accurate the gun was. Anyway, that's it for this game, guys. In the 5 battles that I've played with this thing, we've averaged 784 damage and a 60% win rate according to the stats that XVM gives me. Alright, so let's get into the T37 game, and I have 2 more videos I'm going to bring you guys. I started playing the SU-152. That tank's fun, man. When you play it with the derp gun, it's kind of like, it's basically like playing a KV-2 from distance. That's really what it is. But if you keep your distance, sort of, and you're able to get into these areas where you can, smack a shot into someone, and even if you get spotted and pull back to hard cover, that's the way the tank is made to be played, man. And I've been hitting people for like 700 plus just with the heat rounds, and then if you hit someone with one of the HE rounds, man, 900 damage. It's freaking insane, dude. It's kind of fun to play. So I've been playing that tank. So we're on Ghost Town, and again, why I decided to put both of these videos into both these games, I should say, into one video, is because of the map selection. Like, I don't normally bring Ghost Town. I feel like Ghost Town is just a really ugly map. Well, ugly in visuals, but also just ugly, speaking, about the matchmaking for a light tank, right? Like, it's just not a good tank to have on this map. I'd much rather be in a TD or maybe even a heavy tank. I think there's good brawling sections if you play a heavy, but yeah, I'm just not a fan of this map in a light tank. So what I'm going to do is, I see AMD is coming over here, but I want to go this way. I've started going to the west side of this map just because the east, in my opinion, at lower tiers is not as much of an issue. I feel like people coming this way, like, it's easily counterable. In higher tiers, there's people that can, that are smarter and will try and stay concealed here, and they'll get up into here and they can, hit shots at you here and stuff like that. And they just play the map better. So, it's maybe at higher tiers you would want to try and play the east, but I find the west to be the more important side of the map, simply because of this entire ridge line up here. I feel like it's more important to take this, and also because this side is right next to this. So if you take this, I feel like it's easier to defend, like, the base and stuff from up here. You have like this giant hill and stuff. So if you take this, then likely you will have this one, and you won't have to worry about people coming this way. Hopefully that makes sense. I know, like, I kind of ramble on about the maps sometimes, but that's how I feel about this map, guys. I feel like the west is just more important than the east. However, again, like I said, I have lost games where we have lost the east, and thus we have lost, the rest of the game because we lost the east side of this map. So, and it's the same thing on the other side, right? Because you have both of these hills right here. But yeah, I mean, I just feel like that's the case with this map. But I will say this: I think also whoever owns the most area on the outside of this map, I've explained this before in another video too. With Ghost Town, I feel like whoever can take the most exterior portions of the map, it's kind of hard to put a word to that. But whoever can take more of this, right, is likely going to win the game, just because you can flank into the city and you own more of the map. So that's another way of looking at it too, I guess. But anyway, we lost the west side of the map as I'm rambling on about all this. And I'm going to get into this bush here. This bush is very effective at being able to hit people that are going to overextend over here. You can see the AMD is doing that, and I'm going to get into here and I'm going to try and help this T34. So here we go. We're trying to get shots into the AMD. It's not so easy. I'm like trying to auto aim, and this guy's just running all over the place. Eventually I get one into him, someone else gets a shot in there, and here we go, guys. So now we're going to be dishing out some damage. The T37 is very good at doing this. The accuracy is not as good as the T21, but I feel like it's still pretty good at dishing out damage. You know, there's really nothing wrong with this tank. I just prefer the T21 in my opinion. Like I said, slightly better at, in my opinion, passive scouting because the turret is a little lower, and I think the concealment is a tiny bit better. Also on the T21, the view range is a little bit better because I compared these two tanks. I should have done a comparison at the beginning of this video, but I felt like it would be long enough having two full games to show you guys, so I feel like I would just talk about it. But keep that in mind, the T21 I noticed has slightly better view range and concealment than the T37. So this is where, you know, I would honestly need APCRs to try and pen. I think I just took a shot there to hit the guy's track maybe to keep him there. But in any case, I don't even know if the APCRs would have worked from that distance. And let's look at the pen on this. So the pen is actually lower on the APCRs than on the T37 than it is for the T21. So I feel like the T21 just overall is a better tank. You can see like how I'm talking about different things, and there's a lot of different things that are just better on the T21. You know, you have better pen, you have a better gun accuracy, you have better concealment, and you have better view range. So the one thing this thing has going for it is that it has slightly better top speed. So that's something to note. So we're sitting here and you think like, this doesn't look like it's going to be a great game. You know, it's 6-8, likely going to be a loss. We're 10 minutes into the game, and it's like, how did I have this insane game that I'm talking about? Well, stand by, guys, because you're going to see. We're going to fast forward through a lot of this because I think this gets pretty boring. I'm taking a couple shots at the SU-100 here, and yeah, now you're going to see where all the damage is being done here. We're now taking shots at the M10, and people just start pushing into this AMD, and it basically becomes a shooting fest for me. I'm looking at the other tanks to see if I can do any more damage, and the M10 is just right there, right? So we're going to focus the M10. I'm hitting this guy so many times. We clean him up, and now I have the Skoda here. And these tanks are just, this is easy pickings, right? I would rather be in the T21, but in this case, the T37 is doing more than enough. And again, the accuracy like is worse, but honestly, I was able to hit a lot of these shots, so I don't think, you know, the accuracy is terrible. I think you get a good amount of like normalization too from the APs, so that helps. That's like when the shell comes down a little bit. So from range, I feel like, you know, you don't, how can I say this? A lot of the shells don't go high because they naturally come back down, I guess. So maybe that helps with the accuracy a little bit. I don't know. Anyway, guys, we literally just like annihilated, you know, like two tanks there just by sitting in the bushes. And now we have a good game. So we're at like 7,800 W&8 already. And this is why I always tell you guys, if you're looking to pad your W&8, play lights, because if you get into situations where you deal a lot of damage in your light tanks, that is a lot of W&8, because the expected damage values for light tanks are, you know, really bad. They're low because people spotting them, and also I feel like a lot of people that play light tanks die very early in the game, so they don't get the chance to deal a lot of damage, dish out a lot of damage. I'm asking the T3485 if he thinks that this guy moved the T67, because the T67 is the only vehicle that's really a threat. There's two Arty and the T67 left, and I have one AP left, and you know, I'm going to hit the T67 with the AP so I can save as much coin as possible. Me and the T34, we have 3 kills together, so like we're pretty much carrying this game, I would say, and we are in it for the long run, for the long haul, because you know this is it. We're the only 2 left, and you know we're going to make this happen. So I'm coming up. I'm looking for the T67. I'm going to fast forward a little bit again, just so we can. This video is now at almost 20 minutes, so I'm trying to get through this video. I take a shot there just to see. This is a thing I like to do, guys. I like to use the game mechanics to my advantage. So I take a shot there to drop my concealment virtually down to 0%. Probably more like 5%, whatever it is. But I want to see if this T67 is lurking in here. If he is, if I fire there and he's lurking in here, likely I will be spotted from that, even if his view range is not good, because my concealment will drop way the hell down. So I take that shot there just to kind of use the game mechanics to my advantage. I don't see a lot of players doing this, but if you know the game mechanics, always try and use them to your advantage, guys. You know, that goes with you know bushes and concealment and all that, like figuring out how that works, understanding that when you shoot your gun, your concealment factor drops considerably, and also using your knowledge of the game, so knowing people's reload times, their DPM, you know, their penetrations, their damage per shot, that kind of thing is really helpful, especially later in the game. I know the T6, for instance, I know the T67 has good concealment. I know he has good mobility. I know that. And look at this. He was able to sneak up here, but he doesn't spot me because I'm not shooting my gun, so my concealment is pretty high right now with low noise exhaust, right? So he doesn't spot me, and I'm able to come up and flank this dude. But again, guys, I was going to say, knowing every tank's stats is helpful. So like I know the T67 has good mobility, good damage per shot, but and the DPM is really good. Or I should say the damage per shot is actually not that high. So that's why I can, you know, be risky and try and possibly brawl with this guy. But I know the DPM is really good, right? So the damage per shot is not that high, but the DPM is really good. And the concealment is good, the mobility is good. So like I know who I'm facing, right? So just using all these things to my advantage, my knowledge of tanks, my knowledge of the game mechanics, that is how you become a good player. It's just using everything to your advantage and really staying alive till the very end of the game. That's so vital, guys. I can't emphasize this enough. There's so many players that shouting, you know, they're shouting 2 minutes into the game, they're in the chat, light tank, go spot something, light tank this, light tank that, and they need to just shut the hell up and remember like how the game is played, you know? Like you need to stay alive as a light tank till the end of the game, because you have to be able to spot late game. If you die early in the game and you're not around for the end game, people are going to be blind, and it's going to be a lot more difficult to win the game. So light tanks, always stay alive, guys, to the very end of the game. Make it your goal, in fact, to be one of the last people to die in the game every single time, and I guarantee you your games will be drastically better. So that's the game, guys. We clean up both of these arties. We get 6 kills. This guy got 3 kills. I should have invited him to a platoon. Could have got brothers in arms, but that's all right. We did 2411 damage, 514 assists, 2400 damage in my first game in this vehicle, guys. 13,000 W&8, and what a game this was. So let's go ahead and take a look at the end plates, and I'll let you guys go because it's been quite a long video. And yeah, man, to talk about these two vehicles, again, guys, in closing, they're both good, you know, overall, they're both very good and well-rounded vehicles. You can play either one of them. I would just note that I actually prefer the T21. One of the, I forget who it was of the 2 comments I received, but one of the comments, it might have been Mark, was asking me, you know, which one do you think you prefer? Because Steele actually said he preferred the T21, and so far, like I said, I've only played 1 battle on this tank. You'd think I would prefer the T37 having a performance like this, but I actually prefer the T21 for a lot of the reasons I've listed in this video. If you guys watch the whole thing, my goodness. So, high caliber, top gun, first class, 2411 damage, guys, 2,411, 6 kills. So, you know, that gives us the Top Gun. And to have high caliber combined, like as a light tank, to get Top Gun and high caliber in one game is just freaking outstanding to begin with. We did 11 module damage, guys. This ended up being close to almost 3,000 combined, and we are top by experience, top by damage, the 3 badges. We lost 9,500 for this, and yeah, pretty long battle duration. So again, when you stay alive, that is how you are going to do well in your light tanks, guys. We fired a lot of shots, and you can see how I have this thing set up. I swapped the turbo out for vents, basically compared to the T21, right? Because this thing has decent mobility, but the DPM is a little bit higher. That's a better thing. The gun depression is 1 lower, but I don't think that's really even worth noting. But again, better DPM in this tank. Slightly lower aiming time, but the dispersion is much higher, and you also don't have quite as good concealment. You can see that I have a good crew over here though. Plus there's only 4 members of the crew. I think for the T21 it's 5, so that also changes things a little bit. And yeah, that's the differences with this tank, guys. So the T21 or T37 probably slightly better at brawling because it has better DPM. Really, I think that's the only thing it has going for it, because the T21 has better concealment, better view range. Oh, it has better, the T37 also has better top speed. But the T21 has better torque, so like when it gets going, it has better view range, it has better concealment, and it has a more accurate gun. So if you guys are looking for my overall comparison on these 2 vehicles, I prefer the T21 for those things that I just listed, and that is the way that I would kind of set these vehicles up also, by the way. So run turbo to basically nullify the low speed on the T21. I think I've talked way too much about these vehicles, guys, but I hope you enjoyed this video. And any questions, feel free to just drop them below. I will get back to you. So that's it, guys. Hope you have a good one. And there you go, T37, T21. Take care now. Bye-bye.